Wait a minute. This is y'all's queen?
Be recognized, especially by a population that was driven out. So for me, it's like when we talk about a two-state solution, and every single almost every single Israeli official that's in the government right now deciding, making these kinds of decisions, is very adamant that there is no option for a two-state solution, that it is not an option, that they will continue to eradicate, and that their goal is total destruction and devastation, that it is not to target said Hamas, which, if it were the case to do that, they would be moving a lot more strategically, militarily. You know what I'm saying? And also, I believe they would be more open to political solutions, like the exchange for permanent ceasefire was on the table via Hamas, for an exchange of all, um, I'm saying refugees in my brain, but the hostages,
prisoners, hostages.
Of the hostages. And the reason the hostages were taken in the first place, we have come to find out through reporting via Israeli reporting, was for them to get hostages so that they can have something as leverage to get their own hostages back, because there are thousands of Palestinians, many children, being detained in Israel right now that are subjected to torture, sexual abuse, and just like insane things. I've just seen insane testimonies, and I've seen documentaries, and I've been reading things by Israeli historians, by Palestinian historians, artists, journalists. It's like, for me, I'm so overwhelmed by, like, what is it that is really possible for these, and when I see that, it really is about us deciding what we are willing to fight for, and that is humanity, I think, at the end of it and at the core of it. And like you said, the peace that we're talking about, the idea that we have to be proactively creating a peace, and we live in coexistence whether we like it or not at this point, is really what the reality of the situation is. So, like, yes, I mean, the idea of a two-state solution, to me, would also grant Palestinians their right to return, and their right to move freely and return to their homes that they were expelled from. But these things I don't see on the table or even a part of the conversation, because so often their plight is minimized to, like, oh, Hamas is in control of their entire narrative. But that's not the truth. The people are in control of their narrative right now because of social media. So it's like we're watching active propaganda in contrast to what people are going through and what we're seeing in real time. So I think a lot of people are in a state of kind of confusion and disillusion about, like, where we really stand on our moral rights, in our actual capacity to see what's going on and to move in such a way that protects all people, all children, no matter what nationality, no matter what they identify as. But I don't see that same respect on both sides at all. I see, like, a very clear, like, yes, this is the price of this, and this is what has to happen in order for us to survive. And I just don't believe that that's true. I don't believe in the full eradication of a people in order for another people to survive. I don't think that that's true. So, I don't know. That was a lot, sorry. But
the state of Mexico does acknowledge the right of the United States to exist. It does acknowledge the legitimacy of the state of the United States of America. And I hope that one day that you will go to Israel.
It says on half of their land.
They do. I don't care what Noam Chomsky says. Mexico acknowledges the right of the United States to exist. I hope someday that you'll go to Israel. Many of the things that you just said that you've seen with your own eyes, I don't think you've seen with your own eyes. Because some of the things that you just said, and I don't think that I've ever been in my life blind to the faults of Israel. And I haven't been silent about them either.
Mm-hmm.
But some of the things that you just described were simply not the case. Israel is not an occupying force in Gaza. Israelis can't even go into Gaza. Hamas, they cannot even go in. Now the soldiers are in there because of this war that you and I both disagree with.
They were there before October 7th.
Excuse me?
They were there before October 7th.
No, Israelis cannot even go. I'm not in any way arguing that the blockade of Gaza was not a good thing. However, Hamas, not all of the misery of the Gazans is due to Israel. And Hamas is an extremely dictatorial force. It has received billions and billions of dollars that they have used for military rather than helping their own people. Many of the things that you said, and I don't think we can have like an hour conversation about Israel and Palestine right now, but I would respectfully suggest that some of what you said, including that you've seen with your own eyes, I hope that you will go to Israel, because the situation, it's interesting, because when you were in that part of the world, and I've been there 5 times, and I've been on the West Bank, and I've been with many Palestinians, I've been with many Israelis, and one of the things that I see there is a much greater sense of the nuance and the complication than is described by people on either side of the conflict talking in the United States today. And not all of this much of what you said about apartheid in Gaza, Israel's not even there. It is run by Hamas. So Israel, and there are, as I said to you before, the settlements are illegal. I think all those people need to go back to where they came, back to the land. They do not belong. That land does not belong to them. But what you said in what you were just saying was calling for the eradication of Israel. I remind you
No.
that, well, you said that they do not necessarily have a right to exist. And so what I would ask is, I heard you, may I just ask you a few questions then? And I don't want to go into, I don't feel that this is the part where we can go into the whole thing. However, when Sinwar said, who is head of Hamas, this is not just about Netanyahu. I've said plenty, I do not agree with Netanyahu. Sinwar has said, we all saw the video. We will do October 7th a million times if we have to. The whole thing should be ours. It should be an Islamist state. That means the eradication of Israel, and it means the eradication of the Jews. So there are a lot of people here who would prefer not to die among both peoples. And so when you talk about how you don't see how a two-state solution can work, maybe you're right. But I think both peoples have a right to exist. Both peoples have a right to live. And I do not believe that every problem stems from the activity of the Israelis. And I think that the Israelis do have some legitimate claims of where there have been efforts. And if, anything else, if you're saying from the river to the sea, and that's just an Islamist state, that is calling for the eradication of Israel, and it is calling for the genocide of Jews. And I believe calling for the genocide of Jews is just as evil as calling for the as any genocide is not. The idea of anyone being told go away, do not exist, is anathema to me. And I hope that you will. I've heard you enough tonight. When you do see, I trust very much your heart and your mind, Lauren. You're very, very smart. And all I can say is I hope that you will go to that part of the world someday and do see with your own eyes, because I do believe the situation is in many ways, and many of the things you said, it's like, no, that's not the fact. And I believe that when there is a greater appreciation for the larger story, I believe you will hold it in your heart and will perhaps see some of the things that you just said a little differently. That would be my respectful submission to you.
I hear you. I also want to just reiterate that I am absolutely 0% calling for the genocide of Jews.
But the things that you said would lead to the eradication of Israel, where are they to go?
No.
With what you said, this is my question, where are they to go?
Well, no one's asking them to go anywhere. We're talking about Palestinians' rights to be on their own land, to return to their own homes that were stolen from them, and to make sure that they have the equal, equitable rights in the land that is their ancestral land.
And it's the Jewish ancestral land as well. That's the argument, definitely.
The thing is, for some folks, I agree. I'm sure if they do a DNA test, they will say that they are from the Levant, because many.
Well, have you read the Bible? Where do you think? Read the Bible.
Not only is Marianne Williamson a no, but Marianne Williamson is a hell no.